All right, so I guess since this is like the first episode, I guess I should explain the premise. I want to recreate the Uber driving experience, but it's weird because I feel like when I'm driving, I'm always looking at the road, so I can't see the passenger, but they could see me and my hand gestures because I'm a big hand gesture kind of guy, and so I feel like they're getting more information in the conversation. And I have to listen for when the passenger wants to talk. So that's kind of the style of this content, this interview style. What do you think?
What's interesting about that is I feel the same. Sometimes I get recurring passengers, and the only reason I know they're the same people is because of the conversations that we have.
Right. It's like I have these visual cues when I pick up somebody I've taken before. Like I remember their house has a red, front door, or there's some sort of visual cue that reminds me that's like, oh yeah, I've had this passenger before.
I've had that happen to me sometimes, but what's more common is I'll take someone out to a bar, right? I'll drop them off from their home, and then I'll end up picking them up, but it's never from the same bar. And it's sometimes they don't even remember it's me. Sometimes I don't remember it's them until we start talking. And they were like, oh, you're that person or you're that person.
I had this one guy, I guess 2, 3 weeks ago. He jumps in my car and he's like, Levi, do you remember me? I work for tips, right? So there's a part of me that wants to please, but I could not remember that guy until we got about halfway through the conversation. Then a couple of things kind of clicked, and I was really embarrassed because,
Well,
I was like,
I deal
go
with that
ahead.
too. And the way that I like to handle that is that I say, hey, what did we talk about? So we can start talking about it again. So we can start getting updates. Like I had a child. She's 5 months now. And the week before she was here, I had a passenger who I was telling about it. And then I took like 2, 3 months off. And then I picked her up recently, and then we were catching up about it. So even if you don't remember them initially, it gives you the ability to restart that conversation you were having before.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, okay, so the podcast, the interview style, the show is called Where Are We Going? And my goal is to kind of let you direct the conversation to some extent. So, where are we going? I mean, you and I know each other digitally, but I don't think we've ever had really too many really good conversations. Where are we going?
I don't think we've ever had a one-on-one conversation, really. Where are we going? Where would I like to go? It's not very often that I'm the passenger.
Now, I'll prompt you a little bit here because I
Okay.
think in future episodes people will have an idea, but it can be a location, it could be a topic, it can be you could have questions for me, or whatever. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical destination by any stretch.
Okay. Then I would like to go 3 years into the future.
Yeah, 3 years into the future. Okay, so you've got a 3-year-old daughter.
No, 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 no. Yes. 3 years in the future. Once we get to the destination, that's how it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. So are we gonna go year by year, or are we just gonna go fast forward right 3 years from now?
I think we can do that. I think we can do short term, mid term, long term. So let's
Wow.
say let's visit January, and then we can visit 2 years, and then we can visit 3 years.
So January 2026, right?
Yep. It'll be my
Now,
birthday.
it'll be your birthday. Now you're a pretty young guy, right? I mean, you're probably what? I'm gonna say in your late 20s at the most.
That's I feel good. I'm 33, turning 34. It's my Jesus year right now.
Fair enough, you're Jesus here. I never heard it called that. That's right. That's a good point. Yeah, so January 2020. Now, if I remember correctly, you've been talking about potentially, you're down in the Carolinas, right? Charleston or something like that?
Yeah, I'm in Charleston.
But you've been talking about leaving. I mean, as much, if I read some of your social media posts, like you were talking about going to Vegas or something like that.
I really wanted to, but we decided not to. There's some things going on in the world. Vegas is one of the biggest tourist hubs in America, and tourism is not doing so well right now. And there are two main reasons for it. And I decided that since my goal is to transition into something else, it would be a mistake to go to another market where my earning potential could potentially be threatened.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So January 2026 for me is going to be that's the month. That's the coldest month. So I drive up here in Syracuse, New York. So I could tell you, for me, just thinking about it, the problem with January for me is it's the coldest month. It's the darkest month. It's when winter's in full effect. It snows every day. But I Uber drive mostly college kids, and they don't come back till late January. So those first 2 or 3 weeks in January are just rough. They're just totally rough. It's like I'm lucky to make $20 an hour. I'm lucky to, just get rides and stuff like that. What about you?
Even with snowstorms?
Well, that's the luxury, right? A snowstorm means, if you have the courage, that means surges, right? So if it snows, no, let's define a snowstorm. You're familiar with snow. Didn't you live up here in upstate New York for
I'm
a
from
little
New
while?
York. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I used to live not too far from you. I lived in Binghamton for a bit, but I'm from New York City.
Yeah. So you get it. So there's like snow, which doesn't mean anything. And then there's like a snowstorm, which typically means it's snowing during like either early morning rush hour or late afternoon rush hour. Because if it snows overnight, nobody cares. If it snows during the middle of the day, nobody cares. But during rush hour, from an Uber driver perspective, yeah, that'll be that. That's January 2026 for me. I'm hoping to have a lot of these conversations, though. I've got you, and I so appreciate you joining. And it's funny because I visualize what you look like in my mind. You have such a professional studio and a great setup and everything.
Thanks.
What about you? What does January 26 look like for you?
Oh, it's rough. It's rough for the same reasons as you said. Most of my target is usually college students, and they'll be gone. And then there's also strong tourism here that will also be gone. People come here for weddings, and people don't like getting married when it's cold. And people come for like the Monday holidays, and there's just not a lot of them, right? There's Martin Luther King. Some people might come for that, but most people are usually broke after Christmas, and they're not coming here. So it is very rough. And that's when I see myself doing a little more Walmart Spark, a little more food delivery, and and actually making more content.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. You were one of the first creative people that I followed in the Uber space. I mean, I think we all kind of know about Harry and the Rideshare guy and that, and a few other bigger ones. But your persona was one that I really thought I would emulate. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, tell me about this. I think there's like two types of content creators in the world of Uber that are really big. Content creator number one is somebody that, makes social media content about their passengers doing something in their car, right? So they're just trying to get clicks. So college girl throws up in my car, it gets 1 million views, but they're not really for creating content for rideshare. And then content creator number two, which is I think the biggest one that maybe I follow, is kind of like, I hate Uber and Lyft, and they're broken companies. And I found your content so refreshing, both the way you present you have a great soothing voice, and is it fair to say that you're positive?
I don't think that's fair. I understand why people would look at it that way, but I want to go back to something you said earlier. I didn't know about the rideshare guys until I had maybe 5,000 subscribers. So I was doing it for a while before I even looked to see what other content creators are making Uber and Lyft content. And as a content creator, I feel like finding other content creators in my space was a mistake. It warped my view of things and my content, and it took me away from me. Sometimes being inspired is fine, but you want to make sure that you're not following the trends that other people are doing. And so I recently, I kind of took a step back. And it's not to say that I don't watch their content, but it is to say that if I'm planning on making something and they're talking about something I plan on making, I don't like looking at their content, because then it changes what I do about my content. Now, to go back to the positive thing, One of the core functions of my personality that I put in my personality is I like to focus on the things that I have direct control over in hopes that they affect the
Yeah.
things that I don't have direct control over. And so I knew that when I want to make content, I want to do that with drivers. And the double-edged sword to that is sometimes drivers think I'm a shill or, I'm positive, but I don't see it as positivity. It's here's what's happening and here's what you can do to best take advantage of it, even if it's designed to take advantage of you.
Yeah, that's a good way that I think I get something very similar. I would say again that I appreciate the way you created content. So when I dove in to start creating my own content, I wanted to do something kind of similar, and instead of chasing clicks or something like that. And you're right. I think people mistake my nature as because I'm a nice guy, but I'm not overly critical of the apps per se. I just kind of just say, here's the facts, and there's not much I can do. I don't know. Do you ever get? I get people that get upset because I'm like I don't I don't want to start a union or fix the apps. I just feel like it's out of my control, so I don't worry about it.
I've been at that crossroads before where I actually went to a union meeting and I was like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to help push this or do I not want to push this? And then I had to just go back to my core. Well, first of all, before I even tell you what my core is, there are enough people on YouTube bashing Uber and Lyft. So if anyone's out there watching this, we don't need more of it, right? They can do what they need to do and we'll do what we need to do. Like, I'm glad that there are whale advocacy groups out there, but I'm not the type of person to go and advocate for whales. We don't all have to be the same. I'm trying to remember my original point.
Well, you were talking about the union and kind of the core of who you are. Yeah.
How can I preach that we should go and join unions when I don't even believe Uber and Lyft is great for long term? That would be counterproductive to my own message. And even if let's ignore self-driving cars, there is a trend that Uber and Lyft are implementing strategies to decrease our pay. Yes, I can understand you would want union protections to fix that, but even if my pay never decreased, I don't want to be an Uber Lyft driver forever. I see it as a great stepping stone. So I can't put my energy into something that I don't plan on being part of long term. And it sounds selfish, but that's how I make money. This is what I want to do with my life. So if that's what you want to do with your life, I can support that.
Yeah, no doubt. I was thinking about the union thing, and the irony of a union to me is what makes Uber and Lyft or DoorDash or any gig work so great is the flexibility and the freedom, the idea that I can kind of control my own schedule. And I feel like the minute I join a union, I lose a little bit of that independence. And I don't know anything about unions, and so I can't profess to know a lot about it, but yeah, I totally agree. It's like, yeah, it's like that. But yeah, so that's what January 2026 looks like. So will your channel be up and running at full steam again? I know you took a little bit of a break, maybe the birth or some other things like that, but are you going to kind of get back into the rhythm of things?
I'm trying to get back into the rhythm now. I finally moved into a new house. It's mostly set up, and I'm trying to get back to posting at least one video per week, which was my old standard. And then I want to, max capacity would be one video per week and going live once a week. If I can do those two things week in, week out, I think I'd be in a good place. It wasn't an intentional break, I'll say that much. It's just, I've always tried to operate my life at 90% capacity, just because that's where I'm happiest. I'm happy when, there's a little bit of rush behind you. Like there's a little bit of like a reason to move forward, a reason to do things. And when I had the baby, when I bought the home, I woke up one Saturday morning, not thinking I was going to put the down payment on a home. We just went and looked at a house, fell in love, and we were so worried that someone else was going to get it that we put down the earnest money. And so all the paperwork that comes with that, all of the moving everything out the house, getting the pictures done, and then you move into the home and there's a bunch of things that you're buying. It's like it put my operation capacity at like 120, 130 on top of having to make money, right? So it's been challenging to figure out how to manage my weekly goals when I have so many things that I have to do that are just one-time goals, you know? So I'm constantly learning to be a more productive person when I can be productive, because if you don't do it, it's not going to get done. And I've never felt that mean more to me than since having a child.
Yeah, yeah, there's something about parenthood that gets a lot of people just to just focus and just drive and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's jump forward 2 years, right? So
Sure.
we're talking
Yeah.
like 20,
Let's do 2
27?
years. But let's pick a
Yeah.
different month.
Yeah, yeah, what month?
Let's pick March. March is a good time.
Yeah, March is great.
2027.
Oh my gosh, March of
I'll be what?
2027.
35, I think. How old will you be?
50 something. I'm 51 now, so 52. I think 52. Yeah, 52. Because my birthday's in July, so I turned 53
Oh,
later
nice.
that year. Yeah, yeah, I was
I
born
have
in
a habit. I'm
74.
starting to lose count. Ever since I turned 30, I started losing count. It's like, how old is my sister? How old is she for
Oh my
me?
God.
And then like, I have to do a bunch of mental gymnastics. I'm not keeping count.
I've
Man,
been really bad
35.
about that. Yeah, but I've been really bad about that. I have 3 children and a grandchild, and I just really just make up numbers for their years. I know my daughter, she's in her late 20s. My son is in his early 20s. I kind of, I kind of just make it up. Oh my gosh, but March. Now, in the world of Uber, that's a great month. What college is it called? St.
College of
What?
Charleston.
College of Charleston, yeah. So I,
Yeah,
I drive in,
primarily.
I drive in like 4 college towns, if not 5. So it's Syracuse, Cornell, Ithaca, Binghamton University. Then there's SUNY Oswego when I get up that far north. I've been out to Oneonta in Hartwick. There's Colgate kind of close to my house. So I drive in a lot of college towns. St. Patrick's Day is a big, big to do, right? That's March,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, that is March. The Irish population, I know in Binghamton, is very strong. Very
It's
strong.
super strong, yeah. And what makes St. Patrick's Day from an Uber driving perspective really, really good is their day drunks.
Yep. Yep. From 8 a.m. until 8 a.m. the next day. That's all they're doing.
That is all
It's
but they're day
fantastic.
drunks. And for me, a day drunk is easier to handle than a night drunk. I don't know why, but nighttime, maybe I'm just getting too old, but I can't see as well. So I fear more things going on in the back seat. But during the day, I can just turn around and look and get full visual of everything that's taking place. Or I can see them walking to me and get a better sense of their inebriation. Whereas at night, I'm kind of like, I can't really tell. So yeah, and so it's just packed for 24 hours straight. It's nonstop Uber driving.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. For me, I don't have those same concerns. But I have realized that day drinkers are better drinkers. I don't know if it's because they're pacing themselves or because there's more of them. I've had some times at night where people who are really drunk try to put other people or a person who's really drunk into the car, and I don't allow that. I don't allow people to drop off drunk people into my car. One, if you're a passenger or an account holder doing that for your friend, you're a bad friend. That's not okay. And then 2, I don't want to be held responsible for when this person passes out. So,
Yeah, it's a
but
really bad thing. Like when the students order, like it's Tommy ordering a ride for his drunk girlfriend Susie, making up names, right? And it's like Susie's trying to get in my car, and Tommy's like, "Can you take her?" And I'm like, "This is like the worst thing ever." Hey, she's
yeah,
not. It's just a totally unsafe thing. And then you're like, and I'm an adult, right? And you're an adult, so I don't really have too much problems with kids, these teenagers, the college students. but you could see them just being like, indignant that I wouldn't do this.
It's it's I don't know if it's because they got away with it another time, but like to me, it's just that it just doesn't make sense. And I didn't have someone drop someone off in my car. I had someone who was drunk get in my car, and I wasn't able to tell until it was too late. He took the front seat. He fell over, bent over, sleeping in my lap pretty much. If I had a stick shift car, I would not have been able to drive. And then I get to the destination. I'm trying to get him out my car, and I don't touch people. Don't touch people.
Yeah.
And he's just not moving. So I kind of threatened him. I'm like, hey, if you don't get out my car, I'm going to have to call the cops. And like, he kind of responded, but he didn't get out my car. So I did just that. I called the cops. The cop came, and the cop was able to get him out of my car and into his apartment instead of taking him to jail, which I thought was nice. But for me, the important thing was this person is no longer my responsibility. It ended well, but I will never put myself in that position on purpose. So
Yeah. So March is day drunks, and I get a little bit of visual of the passenger and stuff like that. March of 27, I think, kind of getting on a different subject. I think there will be a lot more autonomous cars operating all around the U.S. I think there will be cities, especially southern cities, where it'll be a lot more common. Just the sheer volume of autonomous cars that are being built, especially with Tesla. I think a lot of Uber drivers, if they want to stay in this business, they're going to have to migrate to cities like mine, where it'll take a little bit longer just because it's hard for those cars to operate, on snowy roads and stuff like that. I don't know. What do you think?
I want to push back. And before I push back, I want to talk about where I'll be in life around this time.
Yeah,
And
please.
hopefully I'm a part-time Uber driver by now. My goal is to be debt-free, so I should be debt-free by then. Shoot, I should be debt-free by January, maybe February, maybe March of 2026. But in 2027, I for sure should be at most part-time. If not part-time, I've exited the game, and I'm interested in owning a self-driving car. Not for necessarily making, I don't think I'm going to become rich doing it, but my content has to go somewhere. Once I'm debt-free and I have more time, I do plan on having more channels. We can talk about that later. But for the Rideshare channel, I think Rideshare is going to mean autonomous in the future. Now, I want to push back. I know what you said about winter and these cars not working well. But did you see this week, Waymo released some information on how their sensors work in the cold?
I did.
What they're doing to make it work?
Yeah, tell me about it.
I just saw headlines. I didn't dive too deep into it, but they've put like heaters and windshield wipers on their sensors so that they can work. And I know that previously they said that they're going to target markets that are hard to deal with, so they have an easier time rolling out in other places, right? And they're in Boston. They've been testing it in New York. Those are probably the only two places. But I know that you're in the mountains, which adds another degree of like harshness. And you're in what I would call you're not a major city. I'm not a major city. So we fly under the radar for now when it comes to self-driving cars. My market will probably be hit before your market. And then you have several markets that you can kind of bounce around in.
Right. Yeah, I have the same feelings that you have. So I don't know if I've ever really expressed it this way, but I Uber drive. And I use the word Uber just for rideshare, just whatever. But I mean, Uber is my main source of income. Lyft and, the other ones are part-time to some extent. But I do it as my main source of income. It's how I live, pay the bills. Now, I make money doing other things. But I agree with you. By March of 2027, if I do Uber drive, and I plan on doing it as long as, society allows humans to drive cars, I guess, and do it. But it'll transition from a main source of income to a main source of storytelling and content creation and stuff like that. I'll still do it. I'll probably do it a lot, but I'm hoping that either the YouTube channel, some of the other consulting things that I do, maybe a book that I'm writing or whatever, something else transitions into where I make my bill paying type of income.
You know, sometimes passengers ask me, hey, is Uber my full-time job? What I like to tell them is it's my full-time income, but
Yep.
I don't really consider it my full-time job. It might get majority of my hours in a given week, but it's not my primary focus in my heart. It's the
Yeah.
primary focus of my wallet. And I actually want to go back to something that you mentioned that I didn't
Yeah.
address. You spoke about two different types of rideshare YouTubers, people who record what's happening in their car, and then
Yep.
people who, let's just say, we give out information instead.
Yeah. Fair.
I'm actually, I'm interested in having both. I obviously have the information one, and I want to launch the storytelling one. And to your point, I believe that there were such different things that they don't belong on the same channel. But my fear for starting the storytelling one is I don't want to get kicked off of Uber and Lyft before I'm done with Uber and Lyft. So I've been collecting them. I have a whole bunch of stories on my hard drive. And I did actually release one. And that was when I was accused of locking someone in my car and using sexually suggestive words with them, which wasn't true because I'm still on the platform. But
Right.
I had to tell that story. It was just like, I have to. So, but I am interested. I have a lot of things that people shouldn't have said, shouldn't have done while they're in my car. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of it's, and I think that is a story that goes way back, long before obviously Uber. Taxis. Taxis just in general become this weird. Oh, I've labeled it the fourth place to some extent. I've written a little bit about this, but there's this sociologist Ray Oldenburg. He talks about the first, second, and third place. First being like your home, second work. Your third place is like your community or the bar or the church that you go to or whatever it might be. But there's a fourth place in my mind that's kind of like where strangers interact. And it's because people get into our cars, the doors shut. So there's the outside world out there, but they're in our car for a short period of time. And the ambiance of the environment, the intimacy of it to some extent, and quite frankly, the temporary nature of it, even the way you and I are talking right now, people tend to divulge and talk to you in a very authentic way. And that's the story that resonates most with me. And I'm not really a big drunk person story. I mean, I do have a couple of those, but it's these moments where I think people have shared their heart with me, and it touches me in a way that is it's powerful. And I have those stories too. Now, what I've been doing though is instead of making videos about it, I've been writing about it, and I've been modifying certain pieces of the story to protect their anonymity. So if I took a passenger in Binghamton to the hospital, I might say I was in Utica, just to give them that space or something like that. But the story, the overall structure of the story is still the same. But so to kind of talk about what you're saying is, instead of me creating another channel, I think for me, it's writing. It's almost like journaling, because I think sometimes they pass these heavy things on to us. And I find it, it weighs me down. I feel, sometimes I have to park and just stop. It's heavy. So the stories to me are a way to journal, get it out, and kind of release that burden from me. Do you feel sometimes that same way, where you're interacting with people and it's tragic or sad, or maybe it emotionally affects you?
no, I feel callous for saying that, but I'm also glad that we are different, because it means when you do that and I do it, people will come to us for different reasons, because we're pinpointing different aspects. But for me, and I've accumulated a weird set of friends, and one of the things that they really enjoy about me is that when they tell me these things that are happening to them, they don't feel as if it's like I'm a break in sympathy, right? I'm not shaming them for what they do, but it's like I'm interested in learning from their experience versus being there to sympathize with them. Not
Yeah.
People don't always want sympathy, and that's not something I do very well. But I'm not an asshole either, right? I have enough social awareness and how to deal with that kind of situation. So like when someone's telling me something that happened to them, like I had a woman, she was telling me that she was dating someone. She found out he was married. He was also a cop, and they were trading pictures, and she sent those pictures to the wife, and that's technically illegal. And the cop got her on that illegalness, like he's kind of just bending the system, and I feel terrible for her. Her husband died like the year prior. She's being taken advantage of. But what was driving me in that conversation was like, what can I learn from this? Like, this is like TV stuff. Like, this isn't something here's how I like to put it. And I stole this from a show called House.
Okay.
Like, life is a series of rooms, and who you become is like a measure of who's walking in and out of those rooms. Right. And that's what we do as Uber and Lyft drivers. My car is a room, and I have a ton of different people who, for a moment in time, we are sharing the same part of life, and they have decided to share information from a different part of their life, and sometimes an ongoing part of their life. I have a story for that too. And you get to be part of it in one way or another. And I think that that's cool. And I think that I think it would suck if I let it affect me.
Yeah.
Because there's some sad stuff out there, but there is some good stuff out there too.
Oh, yeah. That's so true. That's a really sound piece of advice there. I don't know why I take it on. I think the older that I get, the more it affects me to some extent. I think, and not saying that you're young and you're going to get there. That's not what I'm getting at. I think what it is I lived, for the most part, a pretty sheltered life. My dad was in the military, then I was in the military, and I didn't get out until, 2007. And then I got involved in the world of entrepreneurship, and, I was an executive at a company, and, so everything was really distant from me. I've never really looked for trouble. I'm not like a person that goes to bars or, kind of stuff like that. So I pretty much just go to work and come home and play golf. I'm a pretty simple guy. So when I started Uber driving, it was like I was introduced to a whole different world that was out there. Late night absurdity of what people do late at night, the trouble they get in, quite frankly, I was always shocked, and I'm not shocked anymore, but I was always shocked when I first started doing it, how many low income people use Uber as their main source of income. And so, kind of not dealing in a negative way, but just experiencing that because it was something I wasn't familiar with. And then, of course, like I was saying,
just to be clear,
yeah,
are you referring to drivers or passengers?
Passengers.
Okay.
Yeah, passengers. Yeah, I was surprised at how many people, they're workers. They're not low income, drug addicts or something like that. These are hardworking people.
No, I understand.
The cost of a car is so high. Yeah, but then also just go ahead.
The motel trap, the extended stay trap. It's weird because a month at an extended stay is more expensive than renting a room in someone's home. And not everyone has the luxury of just renting a room. Some people have kids, they need more space. Yeah. But it's like the longer you do Uber, it depends, right? It can be cheap depending on where you live. But I feel like majority, like when you add it up every day, 2 to 3 times per day, 6 to 7 times per week, eventually you could buy something. Yeah. But it's not as simple as cutting. It's like how do you build the house while you're standing on the foundation? It adds another level of complexity. So it's like you have to extend grace because they're trying to deal with their finances. Right. But it's like on the path of dealing with your finances, it sets you back from dealing with your finances. It's weird. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, I've heard it called the cost of being poor.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, the cost of it. It's like, the the grocery stores, or they're not even really grocery stores, but the places where they sell Snickers and candy bars and bags of chips and
Call
liquor
them corner
and whatever.
stores in America.
Corner stores, there you go.
In
Yeah,
New
corner
York,
stores, yeah. That's right, corner
bodegas.
stores. That's bodegas. They're really expensive.
Yeah.
But I would go in there and be like, $3 for a bag of Doritos. That's nuts. You can go to Costco and buy, whatever. Yeah, that's right. But Costco's unaccessible if you don't have a car and you're in that neighborhood. And so it's the cost of being poor. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's so for me, Uber driving kind of opened my eyes to not only that world, but just again, these worlds that I was never really a part of. And so when I started getting these stories from people, you pick up somebody at the hospital, somebody just died, or, it seems to be like a girl, but a young lady gets in your car and she's upset because a guy just broke up with her.
I love those.
To me, it happens so much. People don't believe me when I tell them.
Story time.
Like, yeah. People, and and then there's a grandfather in me, and maybe you might feel this now that you have a daughter yourself, but there's a grandfather and a father of a daughter. I'm kind of like, there are more fish in the sea. The fact that he broke up with you at that party, you're probably better off. I don't want to. There's probably a good young man in the library for you. That's what I want to tell him. Don't find guys
That's
at bars.
so interesting.
Yeah, but I don't say that.
Like
that's what I want to say. Yeah.
No. Yeah, but that's for me. That's not even like. So there are times where I do offer advice, but before that's usually towards the end of the ride. Before I even arrive there, it's like, tell me more. Like, give me more information. And I always try to figure out, like, how can I get this person to tell me more without sounding like I'm just trying to, like, be nosy. So it's just, I have a similar story where I picked up a guy. I'm driving and I see cops outside the address, but there are two driveways very close to each other. So I'm like, hey, officer, I think I'm at the wrong place. I'll just, reverse out. And she said, no. You're at the correct place. And I'm like, yes. Story time. So the short of it is, it's a guy and they were at an Airbnb with a wife and her two kids, and the husband showed up. Oh, no. I don't know the proper term, but they're on the verge of breaking up. They're still legally married. Is it estranged? Is that what you would call it?
Separated, maybe? I don't know.
Whatever it is. But
yeah,
the dad is still figuring out how to deal with his feelings of another man being around his children. So, he shows up. The passenger is hiding in the bathroom. The cops have to be called. I pick him up, but he's in this state of shock, like this is a surreal moment for him, and it's like he's offloading on me, and I don't mind, but I don't want him to know I don't mind, because I'm the first person he spoke to outside of that situation. It's just it's wild how often that happens. It might not be to that degree, but depending on who you're speaking to, it could feel like it's that degree to them. Like a breakup feels like that degree. Failing the test can feel like that degree, just because we all experience different things to different levels.
Yeah. And I think it has a lot to do with just the setting itself. Again, I'm very particular about the music that I play and the volume in which I play it. And I have playlists designed for each individual passenger setting. And kind of my base setting is jazz, so if I've got Coltrane or Miles Davis playing at a very low volume and the world is kind of passing by, and I can sense them looking out the window as I'm driving and telling me these things, like they're getting nostalgic, and you're right, we're the first person they might even talk to after that situation took place. And so I set the stage for them to talk. Maybe I should just turn the volume up and put an earbud in. So
I can say what I do. So one, I like to listen to a lot of political stuff. So I for sure have an earbud in, for sure. Yeah. I used to have music playing, safe music, as safe as it can be. But if two or more people got into the car, I would turn it off because they're usually having a conversation and want to facilitate that. Now I don't do anything unless it's requested. If people start making out and you're hearing that noise, I'll definitely turn some music on for the sake of the car. That's one of the most awkward noises in the world. But
it's so bad.
No, I try to keep it silent, so that can either have a conversation with them or they can have a conversation with themselves.
Yeah, that's really smart. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, when I say I have jazz on, it's at such a low volume. You have to kind of lean in. It's almost like background noise. I drive a Tesla and it's electric. It's definitely quiet.
Yeah.
There's like literally nothing in there, so it just gives it a little bit of an ambiance. But
I
that's
resonate with that half and
Yeah.
half just because I have a
Yeah.
Prius. Sometimes the engine's on, sometimes it's not. But I think jazz is a good choice. I think anything without words is a good
Yeah.
choice.
I used to try to have the back seat set up for some level of like passenger kind of stuff. Like I would put tissues back there, or maybe for a long time, about a year or so, I had an iPad with trivia that I would adjust. It was like a PowerPoint slide presentation, but it was trivia and it would be a conversation thing. But
You
now
don't use,
I almost go ahead.
go ahead, finish your thought. I can remember mine.
Yeah, but no, I got rid of all of it. It's black. There's nothing back there. There's literally, I just want to have it set up in a way so they can project their own things into it instead of me trying to direct them and trying to push the situation. Like I know some Uber drivers that have party music going because they drive on a college campus. And then it's like they pick up somebody who's not at a party, and it's got to be the most disorienting thing with like lights and stuff in their car. I don't know how they do it. But what was your question?
You don't use the octopus tablet?
No. The reason why was even if I could make, let's say, $100, even $200 a month. I've heard some people make more, but whatever the month. I thought it was better for me to control the topics and have a much more interesting conversation than a thing playing that I have no idea what it's doing.
So I was worried about
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
I was worried about that when I first got it. And there like what I've realized is there are ad breaks. And
That's right.
it does force them to come back to you. So sometimes it'll be this happens the most when I have 4 passengers. The person in the front doesn't have access to the tablet, and then you have 3 people behind. And the 3 people behind sometimes will get sucked into it, while the person in front and I start having more conversation. But then like when they're hit with ads or they can't play games right away, the people in the back will jump in. So it is true. It does distract from the general conversation. But I have earned, like money aside from the tablet, I have earned tips as a result of having it. So
Right.
there are some benefits and there are some negatives. And you're right. It does, your concerns are valid, but there are times where you can sneak yourself in.
Right. Yeah. It was fun. Don't get me wrong to do it, but I've transitioned. I don't do. I'll do Hollow Weekend. This is Hollow Weekend coming up, which is a big to do at any college campus, and so from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there'll be something going on. So I'll do some late nights there. But for the most part, I'm almost doing early mornings and long airport runs anyway now, like an hour-long drive to the airport. It's kind of a staple of what I do. So the iPad became more of like a college party trick, as opposed to something that when you pick somebody up at 4 a.m. and they're going to the airport, that's just aggravating.
Do you do off-platform trips?
I've done a few. I have people that text me. Like I had a guy call me today, a friend of mine, and he was like, "Hey, can you take me to the airport on Saturday morning?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna be coming in at 4 o'clock from Uber driving all night. I'm probably not the right guy to take you." But most of the people that text me and call me, I tell them I'll do it for free. I mean, you're a friend. So I've looked into doing it seriously. It's interesting, and we could talk about that. But I don't want to do that as a profession. I don't want to be a professional driver, just a handful of people. I know they make good money. I think they make more money than us, at least me. Do you do it?
I don't. And I just want to say why I asked, because it was like a hot switch. I was going to say you could use the tablet to generate leads for that, but you could, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I don't do it, and there are a few different reasons. I'm not going to say it's the biggest reason, but as I've grown a family, I've gotten married, and now I have a kid. I have to make sure that when I do things, I do them correctly or in a way that won't backfire on them. So
Right.
if I am to do it properly, I would have to get a different car because I can't have commercial plates and personal plates. Right? Everywhere is different. Every city is different.
Everywhere's different.
This is how it works here. And I thought I could use my wife's car, sure. Then I'd have to leave downtown to go home to get the car if I have a private ride or something like that. And then in my city, there's no Uber Black XL or Lyft Black XL. So for the most part, most of these passengers are used to like base fares, like base Uber X fares and base whatever fares. I can't imagine charging them an amount that would make it worth my time to leave my home, to pick them up, to drop them off, to go back home, when they could just pay probably half of that to do Uber and Lyft. And then I don't ever want to put myself in what I enjoy the most about Uber and Lyft is the flexibility. I want to go home when I want to go home, and I want to start when I want to start. And I don't think I want to give up that flexibility. However, the more Uber and Lyft make changes to these apps that result in lower pay, is the more I think about it. And I'm still not close to doing it, but I think about it a lot more now.
No, I think there's a ton of money in it. I think if I were to dedicate myself to it, I could probably make $500-700 a day just in airport runs alone. So I'll give you an example. In the city of Ithaca, where Cornell University is, every day there's probably 100 people that order Uber reserved rides to Syracuse Airport, and they're paying somewhere between $150 to $200 just to do that ride. And I think I could get $150, $200, if not more, because of the quality of the vehicle. They're ordering UberX and Johnny's broken down Camry's coming to get them, right, and they're not sure they're even going to get to the airport. And so to have a quality vehicle, it doesn't have to be my Tesla, it could be anything, but just a professional driver come and get them and do that on a regular basis. I think I could go to the sororities and the fraternities and a couple of the hotels there and some of the colleges and just say like, hey, here's my card. If you ever have a professor needs to get to the airport, or hey, when it's college break time, just come up with some discounts. I could do that trip 3-4 times a day. Easy, and not including tips, because they still tip on top of it, I would imagine. So I think it's a huge opportunity, but you're right. For me, it's a different car. You'd have to get a different car. You have to get commercial insurance. Then the worst part about it is the scheduling. That's the thing that sucks the worst. If I got a job, just go get a job. I don't need a job.
Here's what I'll share. I'll share how I think I would do it, right? So being my city is mostly a tourist town, what I would do is I would use Uber and Lyft, and at the end of a ride, if I identified someone as a tourist, I would say, hey, when are you planning on going to the airport? And here's a block of time in which I'm available. And if you want to go to the airport at this time, I can take you. So that's how I think I would do it. But I've also thought of, how can I generate income that doesn't require me to be a private driver, right? I have skills with the camera. If I wanted to, for these bridal parties that come out, I can say, hey, I can come and take pictures of you guys while you're out on the town, or I can chauffeur you for the day. I can take you to some tourist attractions around town, be their tour guide or whatever. There's different ways I think about monetizing all the time. And then the reason I just don't do it is because I kind of made a promise to myself that I would stop chasing money for the sake of chasing money. Before I was doing Uber and Lyft, I was a district manager, and I never planned on being a district manager for food. It was a good job. I'm a hard worker. I became a store manager a year after I started at Pizza Hut. I just like working hard no matter what I do. And I just found myself in a place where I was making money, but I wasn't doing anything that I really wanted to do. And in order to chase the things that I want to do, I need money, but there needs to be, the road needs to make sense. It shouldn't feel like a long detour. It should feel like a bypass or something like that.
No, that's really wise. At your age too, to solve for that. I think can I give you a quick little idea about money? So you ever think about private jets? You probably pick up people at the private jet place, right? I assume in Charleston. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of absurd. You're like, wow, they just flew in, and you're like, oh, so I'm picking up a private jet person, and then you start to think about their life. Like, what's that like flying on a private jet? And I have some friends that are pretty wealthy and they fly private and stuff like that. And they talk about it being a time machine. But I think most of us, because it's just you get your time back, you don't have to go through the airport and all this other kind of stuff. But we think about it as kind of like they're drinking champagne on these flights or whatever. It's like this. I've never been on one, so I don't know, but I imagine it's like this luxury type of experience, right? And I compare that to me sitting on a Delta Airlines flight, middle of the airline, maybe not the back, definitely not in first class, but somewhere in the middle, cramped in. And like that life has to be so much better than my life. And in some ways it is. But then we're always looking up, like people above me have a better life, money, right? But it's so much, like I say, now that, the older I get, that I think like the real difference isn't between me and them. The real difference is between me and the really poor people of the world, the impoverished.
Yeah.
And even in America, there's some people really, really struggling, but they can't afford a flight. Maybe with Spirit Airlines, they can afford a flight, but they're, for the most part, they're catching the bus or they're driving. But even there are people around the world that can't go anywhere. And if they do, it's a one-way trip. And if they have to walk, and so that life is so much worse than mine. And so to your point about money, yeah, more money's great, but time is the thing that I think is the most valuable thing. And how do I get control and I master my own time? And that's why private rides is the most difficult thing, because then I've opened myself up for other people to control my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So regarding I kind of, this is a thought that I'm just thinking, so I'm kind of working through it.
Yeah.
So I feel like my perspective as an Uber driver in my current financial situation, I feel like I'm equal to anyone that gets in my car, no matter how much money they make or don't make. So
Right.
that's kind of how I feel. But I also understand that the passengers that get into my car probably don't feel that way, especially if they think they're making more money than I am.
That's right.
They probably, are looking down on me, in some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily in a negative view. It's like, oh, this guy's an Uber driver. He's probably struggling. And, statistically speaking, that could be the case. But
Right.
I think that's statistically true no matter what industry you're in. So, but I acknowledge that people feel that way. And I found that I try to push past it, in that if the conversation ever goes, I love talking about money. So if you ask me how much money I make, I tell you. I get excited
right.
to tell you.
Sure.
And so revealing how much I make to them usually shifts how they think about things, or, once they find out about my past, it changes. They realize that I'm not here, or I'm not, what's a good way to put this? Money isn't the end all be all. That's what they realize when we're talking. And despite that being the case, I'm still handling myself very well financially. Not because I want to be rich, because I've realized that there are certain things I can do to get more time. And right now, in this section of life, that means making as much money as I can. But that doesn't mean that that is the long-term goal of what I plan on doing, that I'm going to be driving myself into the ground in the pursuit of money. No, there's different chapters to where I am in this book. And the chapter I'm at right now calls for as much money as quickly as possible, so that you can slow down for the rest of your life. So
No, that's really, I so understand that. That makes sense. Yeah. So, kind of to the point of where we're going, you're talking about, March of 2027. I don't see myself, even though I'm tempted, there's an operational side to private rides that's interesting to me. Owning a fleet of vehicles and, managing that. I love spreadsheets. I love numbers. So, and I've run fleets of vehicles before, and I know that business pretty well. So I understand that. But I don't see myself doing that. I hope that Uber is now a story collection thing, as opposed to my full-time income, my main source of income. And yeah, that's kind of what I see March of 27. you want to jump to 2028? I want to hear you from your perspective.
Yeah.
What month?
That's a good question. We can do your birthday month. That's fine.
July.
How old will my
of-
daughter be? 28. We're in what, 25 now? So 3 years. She'll be 3.
She'll be 3. Yeah. Oh, what do you think about that?
I think that elementary school needs to start earlier. That's what I think. Yeah, I'll still be watching her.
You'll still be watching. It's so, the funny thing, I'm sure you've heard this a million times. So, but parenting, it only gets harder. Like the problems of a 23-year-old are so much bigger than the problems and challenges of an infant, right? And so it's a challenge for you as a young parent, or for us when we were young parents, because you don't know what you're doing to some extent. But I don't know what I'm doing when my 23-year-old asks me a question.
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's not that my son has any problems by any stretch. I picked him out out of the group of kids, but problems get bigger, a lot bigger, and challenges. Whereas like, don't make sure that all the plugs have safety things on them. You're probably mastering that already pretty well.
We own those already. But
That's right.
Here's what I will say. In this scenario, I kind of feel like Batman, where you give Batman enough prep time, he can figure anything out. I will trade having more time for dealing with harder problems. Like the problems we're facing now are easy. I just don't have the free time, and I really do miss the free time. And I know it gets harder as you go on, but I will take that difficulty if it means I have more free time. Even if she's just able to walk, that I feel like that would. Let me. Anyone out there who does not have a kid, I want to say something. Feeding a child every 2 hours is ghetto. It is the absolute worst thing that I've ever done in my life, and we're past that, right? But that's what you have to do when you bring an infant home. Just for those who don't have kids, and you think that it's feed, and 2 hours later you feed. No, it's feed, burp, change, sleep. And now there's like an hour, 45 minutes before you have to start all over again. I don't know how single parents do it. Any single parent that's here, that's out there raising kids, doing Uber and Lyft, shout out to you.
Yeah.
Because it drove my wife and I crazy. But, but going from 2 hours to 3.5, 4 hours was a massive difference. We got a lot of free time back. And I'm not rushing. I want to appreciate the age that she's at and the time that we have with her at this age. But I honestly think about it. I look at, some of the things that you sent, and I'm like, man, Levi has time. But we're in two different places. You're technically retired, right?
No, God, no. No, I have to work. No. I'm retired from the work that I need to do, but I have to work. Otherwise, I'll run out of money. I'll be broke.
That's fair.
Yeah. But maybe by July of 2028, I'll have a book that's published. Oprah will have interviewed me. Maybe then. But I just, honestly, I yearn. I want to go Uber drive. It's such a joy. For me to do it. I'm not saying I would do it for free, but it doesn't freak me out the way it does other people, the amount of pay. And don't get me wrong, I need the money. I need to make a couple $1,000 every week, or, the bill doesn't get paid, And the bills get bigger when you get older too, right? Mortgages and health insurance and et cetera.
Hold on, wait.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me the specifics.
Yeah.
Do you really need a couple of thousand per week, or did you even speak there?
Well, I've always been a sole income earner for my family. So, so I'd say somewhere between 120,000 a year to pay for all of my expenses, taxes, etc. Putting money away for savings and stuff like that. Now, obviously I don't make 120,000 a year as an Uber driver. So, I think at most I've made, not including the cost of operating the vehicles and stuff like that, it's like 70, 80,000 is kind of what I've made as an Uber driver.
Okay.
So I do have to make money from other sources. But yeah, I mean, $120,000 a year. And there's also the cost of my potential. That's the thing that, you probably don't feel it as much as drivers my age, but people, when they get in my car, they think something's really wrong. Like, what
do
the
you mean?
hell? Well, why are you Uber driving? you know,
Oh,
you know,
actually, I can understand why they think that, but I think that for retired people, Uber and Lyft is like a cheat code, especially if like your income capped and you lose benefits at a certain income just because of how the tax write-off works. I think it's very advantageous for people who are retired, but the average person doesn't realize that.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I think but I'm not a retiree. I'm in my peak earning years, and so I have to work to pay the bills, put money away for retirement and stuff like that. And I could live off a lot less. If I needed to, I could probably get away with $45,000 a year. But then we wouldn't eat out. You know what I mean? Like, so the 120,000 is kind of like to maintain the lifestyle of a person that I've been at. Now I've made more, I've made less. And I don't mind talking finances. In fact, that's one of the things I like about your channel is that you do talk numbers. And I've always liked that. I 100% agree with everything you say about taking out loans on vehicles, being debt free. Are you a Dave Ramsey? Is that kind of the genesis of a lot of this? I'm not saying that he specifically, but yeah.
No, yeah. Like, I follow his plan in my personal life. I think it's a lot. And so I'm trying to develop a rideshare version of it that's a little softer, but a little more focused on the things that, rideshare drivers you normally trip up on. But, I've always been great at making money. And I've always been bad at keeping it. I'll share something with you that I've shared, but I don't talk about a lot. There was a time period where I used to make things and sell things that weren't exactly legal. And at the peak, I was bringing in almost like $3,000 to $4,000 a week on top of being a store manager, getting paid $55K a year. And I couldn't tell you where that money went. Yeah. I really couldn't. And
that's what illicit money typically does.
I was a bad spender. And then once I found Dave Ramsey, and just for anyone else, I don't do that anymore. I stopped doing that. That was college. We're far away from college. But Dave Ramsey, I realized like I didn't trust it at first. I decided that what I'm doing with my money isn't working. At the time, my car got repoed. It was around 2020 when I started realizing how money works. My car got repoed that year. I wasn't doing Uber and Lyft yet. And it's not because I wasn't making enough money. I was getting paid the most I've ever gotten paid legally. And I was working as a district manager at this time, and I had an Amazon job. I liked working at the warehouse. It kept me fit. I liked the overnight. And I was doing both of those, and my car got repoed. The car payment was like $300. There's no reason why I shouldn't have been able to afford it. And then I started doing Dave Ramsey, and then as I'm matriculating through the process, I'm realizing that, dang, if I didn't do this, I'd be screwed, right? We can even look back to where I got into my car accident about a year ago. Man, it was a year ago. Like, if I had a car payment on that car, yes, eventually insurance would have paid out, but for that month or two, I'd be responsible for that car payment without having a way to earn money. And then on top of that, I was able to buy my Prius in cash because I was preparing for something to go wrong with my my Jetta. And if I wasn't following these principles, it wouldn't have gone well. Even the year I got married, we had like 3 months where we're trying to pay cash for this wedding. It totaled out at like $11,000. We did a really good job, but our HVAC unit went out and our roof went out and our insurer went bankrupt. So it's like these are things that can crush people who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I was living paycheck to paycheck before I started with this whole Dave Ramsey thing. So I don't agree with everything that he says. He's very rough. Politically, we don't agree.
Right.
But his financial advice is safe, right? It's not the only way to make money, but I feel like that's what people should do at minimum. If you want to be risky, but have your finances where you can afford to be risky. And that's what's missing from a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. I think about that, all the time. I don't live paycheck to paycheck either. But I do think about money that I've put away as untouchable also to some extent. So I force myself to make money to not have to, live off of, burn through whatever might be available to me. And the real interesting thing about money, my wife probably doesn't agree with me, even though I've said it, we've talked about it before. It's like, listen, you could lose everything. It doesn't matter. I think we live in a world where I think people live in fear of like losing their house or losing their cars. And I'm not saying you should, but I don't fear that either. I'd rather just live my life and what comes out, whatever happens. I'm just not gonna worry about that. And I don't think that's gonna happen to me right now. And maybe it's easy for me to say that, but I also have family that if I lost everything, I could move in with them. I could start back up and go back over it again. So I've never really worried about it. It's never been something that's made me, freak out. I think, I honestly, Tristan, I think a lot of other people that watch my content think I've retired from the military. So they think I get a pension.
That's my assumption.
I did not retire from the military. I separated. I'll give the exact story. So I was in grad school at Syracuse University. The Air Force had sent me there to go to grad school. And while I was there...
I'm sorry, before we get too deep.
Yeah.
When did you go to college, before or after the military? Like regular college, 4-year?
I did that at night school while I was in the military.
Okay.
So I enlisted, and then I went to night school. And while I was I graduated from just whatever Joe Schmo 4-year colleges on the base. And once I graduated, I went to officer candidate school, OTS, or officer training school, whatever it's in the Air Force, I don't know. And then as a commissioned officer, the Air Force sent me to Syracuse University for 18 months to go to graduate school. And midway through school, the Air Force downsized my year group. And I don't want to get too technical about it, but the officers are kind of like years. So I was a 2000 captain, the year 2000. This is 2007. And so they're like, we're going to get rid of half of my year group. And so they just gave me a lump sum of money to get out. they said you can
crazy.
stay in school and graduate. And so I stayed in school, I graduated, and 3 days later, I got a 6-figure check from the military. It ended up being a little over $100,000 in cash, and I put that in a bank account after taxes and everything else, right?
I was about to say, what'd you do with it?
Well, I got involved in entrepreneurship. I took risks, right? I took jobs for low wages to be a partial owner of companies. Some of them panned out, some of them didn't. None of them made me
This is right before the
wealthy.
crisis.
This was right before the crisis, yeah. And so a lot that went down really quickly, right? Because I took the whole thing, invested in, and then all of a sudden you like watch half of it go away. It was like, wait, where's it all going? And plus I decided I wanted to live off of a portion of it because instead of going and getting another job commensurate with my education and my experience, I got involved in companies and took deferred wages. I was like Otani. Instead of getting all 300 million or whatever he's getting paid or whatever, I took like 2 million a year. I took partial income for a little while.
How old were you?
Yeah, so your age. It's 20 years
married?
ago. Yeah, I had 2 kids. Yep.
I would have done that. I would have done what you did.
Yeah. And people are like, well, you could lose it all. I'm like, sure. Then what? I just don't really freak out about it.
I don't freak out about it either.
Yeah.
But my center of security is me. I know that no matter what, I am a hard worker. And if I have to go and work at a minimum wage job and work my way up, I've done it already. And I'm not afraid of doing it. Do I want to do it? No. Will I be sad if I lose everything? I will allow myself to be sad for a time period and grieve. But then I'll pick myself up and I'll grind. That's the kind of person I am. So I'm not worried about losing everything because I'm confident in myself. And I wonder how true is that of a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how true that is of anybody in life.
Yeah.
You know,
And I one thing I didn't think about until this conversation is as I get older, that confidence might degrade.
it's not
Because-
even I'll give you my perspective.
Sure.
It's not confidence. I think my confidence is, I think I'm at, like I say, my smartest I've ever been, my most productive I've ever been. I mean, I couldn't physically outproduce, a young person, in terms of like, loading lumber in the back of a truck or something. I think that I'm not that, but in terms of my mental capacity and my ability to produce business results for people, I'm at my peak. I could do a great job of it. The downside is what people perceive of you. See, the thing is, when you're in your 30s and your 20s, people see a discounted labor rate. They see me as expensive, but they also see young people as fresh and innovative and they have energy, more energy, stuff like that. So I'm already starting to sense that I couldn't go back into the workforce. I was talking with a person the other day about this. I've been out of the executive world for 5 years. I don't think any company would hire me to come in and do something just because why take the chance when there's a 30-something-year-old you can get for a lot cheaper, and they have today's skills, right? Now I'm proficient with all technology, and so I'm not worried about that, but just the perception. Now when you're in your 60s and 70s, it's even worse. So I think it's not a confidence issue as much as the harsh realities of the way the society sees you.
I agree. And I do think that fortunately, society's moving to where being your own boss is more of an advantage of being able to work for someone else. Being able to produce something on your own. Like, we're producers. We may not be making a bunch of money with what we're producing, but there is always an avenue to do it, right? Like this,
right.
We are the single person university, and
right.
COVID helped launch a lot of this forward. So it's like, even if you wanted to do consulting, I think that would serve you better than going to work for someone.
Yeah. No, that's it. I don't talk about it too much, but I'm pretty open about it. And so when people ask me, I do explain things this way. I Uber drive to pay the bills. And then I have a YouTube channel and content creation and a brand that I manage that pays me also, right? So the channel gets AdSense money, and I've had sponsors and some other stuff like that. And because I have a Tesla, Tristan, companies
You get
send
so
me
much
free
opportunities.
stuff. Well, people
Yeah.
send me free stuff. They're like, "Hey, demo this product." Okay, sure. It's not that you make a lot of money off of it, but it's pretty fun.
I've backed off from sponsors. I'm kind of spooked by the whole FTX thing, where for those who don't know, people took advantage financially of people using ads. And I also think that I'd rather just sell my own product. So
Yeah.
I haven't taken on any sponsors. I'd rather just promote, whatever I have going on. And that doesn't mean I won't in the future. It's just right now, my goal isn't even to make money with my channel. My goal is to be debt free using Uber and Lyft so that I can, use my channel to make money. And it sounds counterintuitive, but my goal right now is just growth, right? Facebook, a lot of these big companies, they didn't focus on making money. They focused on growth, and they figured out the money part as they went along. And that's where I'm at. I'm like, one, for anyone who's even thinking about being a YouTuber, there has to be some aspect of it that you love, because you will not be making any money from it for a very long time. I could make more money than I'm making now just because my focus isn't on that. But I'm glad that I actually enjoy it. Like when I'm done with Rideshare, I'll still be a YouTuber, and it just might be a different channel. Speaking of which, in 2028, I'm hoping that I'll have 4 YouTube channels going.
For
I'll have my Rideshare channel. I want to do a diabetic channel. For those of you who don't know, I used to have diabetes type 2. In our community, we consider it remission. But as far as, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I went from 220 pounds at my heaviest down to 170 in a healthy way without exercising. Sitting in a Uber probably is what, I don't want to blame Uber and Lyft, but it's easy to fall into a sedentary lifestyle where you're eating a bunch of junk food if you're not paying attention to what's going on. And that happened to me. It's my fault. But I fixed it while still being an Uber and Lyft driver. So I want to make a channel where I help people with that. I already have the name picked out. It's called No Sugar Coating. I think it's a good fit. I want to get my pilot's license. Going back to your story about privately flying, I don't want to do it for money, but I want that thing that rich people have. You know, where man, I want to go visit my family this weekend. I can. And buying a plane isn't expensive. You can buy one for 30 grand. The expensive part is the hangar, the maintenance. So that can add up, but it doesn't have to be crazy. There is a cheap and safe path to doing it. So I want to do that. And then I want to do my my dash cam YouTube channel. I don't want to reveal the name, but I have one picked out. Yeah, I don't want anyone to steal it.
No, that's good. That's so good. I'll address that in a second. I just want to make sure so people know I Uber drive to make money and create stories. From there, I publish those stories and I have a channel. But I also am a consultant still, and businesses do hire me for a myriad of reasons as a consultant. And I don't enjoy that though. It's a lot of money, but it's not something that I enjoy as much as Uber driving. And that's the dilemma that I have. Is the thing that I love to do the most, you know, just turn the app on and get out there and see what the day is going to bring. That's so exciting and invigorating to me, just meeting new people and stuff like that. Now, okay, tell me, you've got 4 channels. Do you feel it's like, why do you love it? Is it the production process? Is it the storytelling? Is it the data that Uber gives you? What is it that makes, or not Uber, but YouTube? Why do you like it?
So the core of it is I like the ability of creating something from nothing that no one can take away from you. So even when I was doing whatever I was doing in college, I was able to take something, make something that people really wanted. And it felt good. And moving back to the art form of it all with YouTube, that's one core of it. The other core, which is more like selfish to me, which selfish can be good and bad thing. So selfish to me is I want to experience life, and my method of paying for it is going to be making videos about it, right? So I also want to get my EMT license, and not for the money. I just want to experience that world. And I'm pretty sure I could create a YouTube channel teaching people to do it, or create a YouTube channel sharing stories. So if there's something I want to do in life, I've realized that the less amount of debt I have, the more likely I can do it. Because getting your private license, it's only $10,000, but it takes time, right? And if I don't have a lot of bills, I can, one, save up to that $10,000 pretty quickly. And then 2, I can actually go to class without worrying about having all these crazy bills. So I'm just using YouTube as a way to justify living life. Like, I kind of don't mind being a master of any particular trade. And I kind of want to do things enough to where I get the gist of it. If I'm a jack of all trades, I'm okay with that. There's just so much to experience. I just want to experience enough of it to where I'm satisfied.
Yeah, and YouTube facilitates that. It's like so it's like you're a travel vlogger. I think that was so popular, right, back in the day when people create travel YouTube channels. Yeah, and they could just funds their travel. That's super smart. So yeah, how many of these channels are going to be live by July of 2028?
If I am a part-time Uber and Lyft driver, I'll feel comfortable launching the Dashcam channel, so that should be up. And I have the videos, like, and I'm getting more to the point where I'm having to buy hard drives to keep up. Yeah. And then I definitely want to do the diabetes one. I already started. I have one channel there, but I got ahead of myself and I started too early. I don't have the time for it, so it's on the back burner. And then by 2028, I think I'll have my EMT license. Now, will I have the channel? I don't know. But I think that if I should be debt free, I should be a part-time Uber Lyft driver, and unless something in life happens, which I'm old enough to know that life doesn't go as you plan. So unless something happens, or unless I get distracted by something else, I think I'll have that channel. And I'm happy that I'm interested in EMT because it's one of those categories that won't be impacted by AI, at least not in a foreseeable way currently. So I am concerned about what does the future look like with AI, and what kind of jobs and making money, and a whole bunch of things. And I think that human services, health services will stay. So I think that it'll be good to have that in my back pocket, even if I don't use it the whole time.
Yeah. No, that's the thing that consumes my attention so much is AI and stuff like that. And I think you're right. This idea of hands-on people, as an EMT is a great example of where humans are going to do work. I'm in a desperate search for what are human jobs that only humans will do. Not because a robot even potentially couldn't do it, just we don't want robots to do it or artificial intelligence to do it. And then what are things that are going to be quickly eliminated? And I think our gig as rideshare drivers, days are numbered. And you and I have talked about this many times online. And I've always been surprised at people that are like, oh, people won't get into those cars. I don't think people care. I think it's happening so fast. People are just not ready.
I felt crazy for so long. I think I have if I had a superpower, it would be that I pick up on things quickly. Like I'm realizing things other people aren't realizing, and then I'm looking around. I'm like, why aren't you people realizing it? And it's because I make myself available to the information, whereas people don't. People will say, "Oh, I asked passengers if they would get into a self-driving car." Today, the answer might be no, but all it takes is one time, one successful attempt, and then they realize the benefits and the negatives, and they're like, the benefits outweigh. You literally have people who are willing to pay more for a Waymo than an Uber, and if that's not scary to you, I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, it's so true.
I've learned that when you're trying to convince someone of something, it's never going to be 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. It's going to be over time. And so I try to stay consistent in delivering the news, delivering the updates, delivering other people's experiences with these cars. Not because I want people to be concerned, they should be concerned, but they should be concerned to put themselves in a position so that if they were to suddenly be unable to make the amount of money they need to survive, they would be okay because they put themselves in a financial position to survive it. Be an Uber and Lyft driver as long as you want to be an Uber and Lyft driver. Just while you're doing it, put yourself in a position that if Uber and Lyft gets sunset for humans earlier than you expected, you're going to be okay, because it takes a long time to pivot to a different job or to pivot to get education for a different job. And I just want people to avoid that. No, even Uber and Lyft itself, take AI out of it. There are traps. You get caught up with your car payment, your car breaks down, now you're trapped, or you roll over negative equity into another car. You have this huge car payment. Something happens to your car, you can't drive. Something happens to your body, you can't drive. Something happens to your family member, you need to go take care of them, you can't drive. There's just so many things that can happen, and I want people just to be prepared for it, whether it's AI or whether it's natural life. So I don't know. I have real burden in my heart for that.
I think you're so right. So I'm a Tesla owner, and I actually loaded Tesla. I pay for the full self-drive premium, the $100 a month.
Okay.
And it works so well. Would you ever pay up front for? No, I would not pay up front for it.
Okay.
No, like 8,000 or whatever it is, $6,000. I'm like, I don't understand that. That's like 60 months or 80 months. I'm like, I'm not going to own that car that much, so why not just pay $100 a month?
You can't transfer it.
Yeah, and you can turn it off and you can turn it on. That's the other thing about
Yeah.
it is like you can like I don't need it this month and just turn it off. And now I use it. In fact, I lost access to it. I updated the software to the latest version, and for whatever reason, my car is not using FSD right now, and so I'm racing to get into the Tesla dealership, find out what's going on. Why won't it work? Because now I'm having to drive again, and honestly, it's really awkward driving again. That shows you how much I use it. I mean, I use it.
I dream
all the
about
time.
it.
It's
I
so
dream
good.
about having it.
It's so good, and it's such a liberating way to be in a vehicle. Now, I'm still sitting in the driver's seat, and I'm not saying I would trust it without a driver in the car, or if I was sitting in the back seat and nobody was in the front seat. I don't think I would trust it that way. It still makes mistakes, but they're not mistakes that I feel unsafe. It makes mistakes where I feel like I'm burdening or making it awkward for the drivers around me. You know, like it changes lanes, it changes lanes again. I'm like, why are you doing this? You know, it doesn't make sense. So it's like I'm offending other people, but I feel safe. It's amazing. And so I'm so comfortable now putting it on and just letting it do its thing. The passengers, it used to be about 6 months ago, passengers, it was a novelty. Like, oh, wow, you have FSD, and they would love it. And I would get tips galore. Now, I've had people ask, can you put FSD on? They feel safer with it.
That's cool.
And so it's
Well,
cool.
It's cool and not cool. It's cool.
So,
I suffer from decision-making fatigue.
Yeah.
I don't want to say pretty easily, but as an Uber driver, you're making just so much, like many micro decisions per day, and it wears on you over time. And I would look forward to having a car that drives itself, even if it's not the whole time. It's just not in the picture I painted for my life. It doesn't fit into it yet. Like I am interested in Tesla. I do want a Tesla. I don't know if I'd do it for rideshare, or even if I did, I don't know. I would have to. It had to be my second car.
Yeah.
There are some things, but for the most part, I want one. I feel like it would set me back.
I think financially you made the right decision. I also own a Prius, and the Prius is cheaper to operate than the Tesla. It goes longer distances and stuff like that. But the Tesla,
Hold on,
it's a Model Y.
let's add the caveat, because
Yeah.
I don't want people getting confused when watching this. If you're home charging, the Tesla is it's a decent a decent choice. I'm on the used boat. I know Levi's on the new boat.
Yeah.
I recommend you can get a used Tesla 25 grand, and I think that's okay if you're going to be charging mostly at home. But compared to regular gas cars, even filling up at some superchargers, depending on where you are, is still cheaper. But compared to some hybrid cars, it's either the same or a little more expensive. So just want to give some caveats there.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right on the math. The Tesla can be as much as like 12 cents per mile if I always supercharge, and it's winter and, et cetera, et cetera. And it can be as little as like 3 cents a mile. It can be as little as 3 cents a mile for fuel.
You reminded me you almost got stuck. Not almost, you did get stuck, and you have to trickle charge.
I did. It's such a funny video. I'll put it somewhere here. I can't believe that video didn't blow up. That was such a good video to produce and stuff like that.
Well, what was wrong with it? Was it the click-through rate? Was it the watch time?
I don't know. You know what's crazy? Now we can talk a little bit of YouTube here for a second. The videos that blow up with me are videos I put no effort into. I mean, it's so tragic. I don't understand why. Have you seen some of the videos I've been releasing lately where I do like a little competition?
That, yes, and also your I declined X amount of rides with Uber blew up. That blew up really well.
Yeah, it's at 250,000 views right now, so it's really good. That's a really good number for a YouTuber, and now. And that pays really, really well. By the way, that pays really well.
If you have long form that blows up versus shorts, it's massive difference.
Yeah. I have a short video that got a little over 4 million views, and that paid a tenth of what that long form video paid at 250,000 with Google AdWords and stuff like that. But so those competition videos have great data. High click-through rates, high audience retention, Everything looks good in the world of YouTube data, but for whatever reason, YouTube's just not presenting it. Whereas that 250,000 video, it has horrible metrics. It has a low click-through rate. It has and so I try not to get too into the weeds with Uber or YouTube's data because I feel like I don't know what does it. Mr. Beast makes it look so easy because he's like, this is how you do it. And I get good numbers when I try to replicate his type of video style. I just don't get anywhere near the views as opposed to some other ones. And so I don't know. I don't know.
So there's some magic to it that we'll never be able to explain. But I think the best thing you could do is to put your things into buckets. So like click-through rate is based off of how many impressions versus how many people click through. So you can have a low click-through rate, but because you have so many impressions, it balances out. So the topic of the video matters. Some of your videos are kind of like, I don't know if you're doing this on purpose or not. Some of them are catered for rideshare drivers, which is a smaller community, which is fine. It's a more dedicated community versus a broader community, which, it might not even pay as well. So like some videos you might earn more views, but get less money per view, and it just adds up. So it's like you have these different buckets that you can attach, and that's how I would go about it. I wouldn't try to figure out why this video worked and why this video didn't work. I would say this video worked. How can I replicate it in a new way that's interesting? Yeah. But sometimes, even on my channel, I know when a video is not going to work, and I still make it because it's important. The rideshare drivers need to know this information. So the ones that want to know this information needs to have access to this information. But outside of that, it really is up to the algorithm. The one thing that we can't control is the impressions, right? We can control the packaging. We can pay attention to retention. But if Google's not putting it in front of the right audience, it's difficult.
No doubt.
And also, something that I'm aware of, but I haven't really visited recently, is when you build an audience on short form content, it can have a negative impact on your long form content. And it's unfortunate because while, yes, it'll grow your channel, it'll hurt you financially on your channel. Because if I have 2 videos, one of my most well-performing shorts is about how I made $3,000 in 1 week, but I also have a long form video. When people start doing searches, it's competing with each other. And one of them pays less than the other. So it's a weird mix.
It is a weird mix. I make my videos for 2 people. The first one is for the paying members of my YouTube channel. There's not that many. It's not a big money source by any stretch, but I think that's the community that I care most about. People that pay for me to produce videos. I make Uber driver specific content, not even on the member channel. I'm just saying in general, when I produce videos, I think about that person. And I say, how can I help them as a Uber driver, as a person, whatever it might be. And I want to communicate that. Then the other videos or other content that I make is I really want to educate the world about what life is like as an Uber driver. Because I made a video today actually where somebody, kind of commented like, oh, come on, you're just driving people around. Don't make such a big deal out of it. And it's so frustrating for me to hear that because it's like, yes, I am just driving people around and it should be that easy, but it's not because people are drunk. There's bad weather and these apps are working against you to some extent. And so I think drivers, and we can probably wrap the video, today's story around this is like, I think the apps do harm to themselves and their customer service because drivers, instead of focusing on being good drivers and good customer service, everything about being an Uber driver is literally about how to manipulate the apps to make money. Like if you go to any YouTube channel, 95% of the content is about this game that we play with against these apps. And it's got to be doing so much harm against the apps. And very few drivers just focus on how can I be a really safe driver? How can I provide amazing customer service? And so I want to educate the general world that, yeah, you think it should be pretty easy, but it's freaking not. And it pays so little for the difficulty of what the job really is. Does that resonate with you?
It resonates with me. I spent a lot of time as district manager, store manager, so customer service is very, very important. And understanding social cues is not something that happens overnight. I'm pretty sure whoever left that comment on your channel saying you're just driving people around, if they've taken enough Uber and Lyft drivers, they would realize they have favorites and then they have ones that they don't like. Yeah. So it's a testament that there is something about it that is different, right? From the mechanics of your car down to the mechanics of the person. Like those things matter. Like just doing something simple, like making sure you pick people up on the right side of the street to where the door is where they are. It's like people appreciate that stuff, like it's death by 1,000 cuts, right? I can't sit here and tell you the 1,000 ways that like makes you a better Uber and Lyft driver than someone else. Like if I were to show you my dash cam history, I'll have a lot of people saying I'm the best that they've ever had. What makes that difference? I can't really tell you that right now. Like I don't know specifically those individual points, but I know that it's like everything I've ever learned into one. Like no one to shut up, no one to talk, no one to dive into the conversation, no one to pull back. There's so much to it that I don't think I would have to make a whole dedicated class, like a video series, teaching people about it. Like I wouldn't even know how to structure it. I would have to go through my old rides and pinpoint things, because I can't tell you what I'm doing right. I just know that everything I've learned so far in life is being poured into it, and it's helping me. Like even when I have a bad day, like the customer service part, you don't turn it off. And some people are really bad at that part, really bad.
I think they really are, yeah. And I think that's a detriment, like I say, to the apps. And maybe they're just biding their time for artificial intelligence, robotic cars or whatever. So that's why they're doing it. But I feel like, their brands are being tarnished by drivers. And I don't even blame the drivers to some extent, because the drivers are doing what they can to make money. And they feel that their pay is getting so low and the competition with the apps are so much that why try? Why even care? And and now I can't operate that way physically. It's impossible to do. I can't make a video halfway. I can't do anything halfway. I'm either all in or not. Like this concept, which I super appreciate you being the first guest on, this idea of me turn around and I could see myself in over there. But okay. Feedback, let's give the audience your perspective. You're a YouTuber. What do you think? I mean, now you and I haven't edited this video, so that we don't know the visuals that are going to go with this. So I have to spend some time putting it together. But all in all, what do you think? Am I recreating the Uber experience at least a little bit?
So for me, I'm looking at my camera.
Okay.
And so I don't even see you. Like if I'm seeing you, I'm looking this way. Yeah. So for me, it hasn't changed much. But what I will say is the way we started off this conversation, I think it was important because you're going to establish an emotional connection with something that most drivers experience that no one really talks about. No one really talks about the fact that you're the only person that is a driver that I've spoken to. And I've shared the story of how I don't know people's faces. I know them based off of the stories, right? Yeah. And like, if you tell that to any person who's just not aware that's how it is, it sounds like a superpower. Like unless you have dementia, it sounds like a superpower. So that I think what you're trying is cool. I don't know how successful it will be because people like faces. However, I know a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers listen more than they watch. So we'll see. I'm interested in seeing how it goes. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about the audio quality and some other stuff like that. I'm so used to monitoring my productions where I can do quality control throughout. Right now, everything's behind me. So, I'm like, is it still recording? I'm like, that's the biggest concern that I have right now is like, I should put a rear view mirror as part of the design so I can see. So one of the set pieces is a rear view mirror so I can see what's going on. I know I could move my stuff around.
That'd be cool.
but yeah, I don't know. Well, Tristan, like I said, you inspired me to get into this world of YouTube as a rideshare driver to some extent. And I've always loved your stuff. I believe you speak the truth when it comes to money and wealth and financial planning and stuff like that. I think your persona, I was a little shocked when the way you kind of expressed it a little bit, but to me, you seem like such a compassionate, very kind person. And I'm not saying you aren't by any stretch, but what I'm saying is like, I've always respected you, and I love our conversations about rideshare and everything else in between. And I hope to do this again with you. Hey, do you want me to? Do you want to co-brand this? You know, YouTube has that new co-branding thing. Do you want to do that?
I have no idea how it works, but yes, I am interested in that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So basically, when the video's done and I put it up live, I just send you a link and you accept it, and now it co-brands. And so you get the same views that I get. So, and your subscribers should be co-branded or cross-branded between subscribers and stuff like that. So it should work really well. And I'll come onto your channel and we can do the same thing again in some other capacity.
I'll plan something.
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas. I came up with a lot of ideas before you told me your idea. I'm like, all right, we're going to this with no ideas. All right, let me put those ideas to the side.
Well, one of the things I wanted to do, and maybe this in the future I could do this, was switch it where you can't see me. And I know you say you're looking at your camera, but you look away and I look at you. So give that experience as a driver to other people. I definitely wanted to do this in my vehicle. But the challenge with doing it in my vehicle is I'm limited to the people that I could reach. So there's a couple of people I'm going to do face-to-face, well, not face-to-face, but interviews just exact same where we drive around and do some stuff like that. And maybe in the future it can grow out to other places. But I also wanted them to say, like, okay, I'm going to give you the driver's seat and now I'm the passenger. Now you're Uber driving me, and watch them navigate that conversation so they can feel that experience to some extent. So, but this was the easiest way to execute it. And I think just more voices need to be out there. And that's why I reached out to you.
I will say this feels very humanizing. And I'll be honest, there are points in the conversation where I forgot what we're doing. It just felt like you're here.
Yeah. Oh,
so that's always
so
a good feeling.
That makes me feel really good. Well, we'll leave it at that. Tristan, everybody, if you can, please go to Tristan's channel. He's one of my favorites, must watch person. Not even in the rideshare world, just in the money management and future EMT content creator. And I can't wait to see all your behind the scenes stories, man.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here.
All right. Well, hey, so we arrived. So I'm looking back now. To get out of the Tesla, you have to push that button and push the door at the same time. All right.
This button right here.
I think so.
That's really what you have to do. That's
oh my God, it's so stupid.
Thanks, Levi.